Things that Ms. Oscar had to say about me made me really feel like everything was actually real and who I was being seen in a much different way than I ever thought about it and in a deeper aspect. And being surrounded by those people who recognized me made it feel more like a bigger experience than what it should have been before. It was a proud moment that made me feel like everything was real and all the work I have done has paid off. And I feel super honored and validated also knowing that my hard work has paid off and all these people who I didn't think have seen it actually did see it. And just because I don't have these ideas of myself in the greatest way, or I feel like people don't recognize me for who I am, was wrong the whole time. And deep down, I do know now that, and before, that these people have so many things to say about me that I may not be able to notice for myself, and that really showed me something more of who I am as a person and who I might come off as instead of who I really think I am.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'll call to order the Village Board of Oregon for meeting for Monday, June 1st, 2026. I would ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Higgins.
Here.
Kirchdorfer.
Here.
Knipfer.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Marks.
Here.
McDaniel.
Here.
And Van Campen.
Here, thank you. Item 3, approval of May 18th, 2026 Village Board meeting minutes of correct and corrections of mistakes, if any. Motion by Higgins, second by Pfeiffer. Corrections. Yeah, Knipfer, I'm sorry. Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, public appearances, comments, and communications. Items for discussion and or possible action. A is oath of office and swearing in of Police Officer Zachary Hasch. Did I get it right? Yeah, Hasch. Okay, go ahead,
Thank
Chief.
you. First, if you want to have a seat up at the table here. Yeah. So at first, just to tell you a little bit about who you have sitting in front of you. This is Zachary Hasch. He was born in Hartford, Wisconsin, and grew up in Mayville. His wife is here with him, Megan.
Hi.
They both are avid pickleball players now, I hear. Or did you just start playing?
About a year ago.
Yeah, Oregon's huge on pickleball. It's a thing here, so welcome. That's now a hobby for both of them. Zachary attended high school, Mayville High. He enlisted in the Army as an infantryman from 2013 to 2017. During his military career, he was stationed in Georgia, Washington, and Hawaii. I can assume I know what one was the best one out of the three of those. After the military, he returned back to his hometown of Mayville. He attended college at Fox Valley Tech from 2017 to 2022 and began his studies in natural resources. He completed that program for about a year and then started to shift his focus on aeronautics pilot training. So we have now our first officer who's a pilot.
Ah,
Not only a pilot, but trains other people to become pilots, which is really cool.
yeah.
Soon I'll have maybe on the CIP a plane.
That'll be a different night.
He obtained his associate's degree. He enjoys flying, and he intends to continue flying as a hobby. He advised that his grandfather and uncle were both law enforcement officers, and he's always had an interest in law enforcement.
Terrific.
To go beyond that, and just to speak to how important this moment is for all of us that come into this profession, today is a meaningful moment for our department and the community we proudly serve. It is my privilege to present an individual who has demonstrated a true passion for this profession and a strong commitment to serving others. Policing is more than a career. It is a calling grounded in integrity, accountability, and respect. The oath about to be taken represents a promise to uphold these values with courage, compassion, and professionalism. This officer brings enthusiasm for the work, dedication to our community, and willingness to learn and grow. I look forward to watching as he succeeds in his career within our department and makes a positive impact on those we serve. I would also like to recognize and thank his family and friends, his wife, who have supported him along this path. Your encouragement and sacrifice are an important part of his success, and we appreciate the role you play in helping him serve our community. On behalf of the department, I thank the board for your continued support, and to our soon-to-be sworn officer, well, he's been with us because he had to be sworn to get in the academy, but we are proud to welcome you to the team and stand ready to support you in the important work ahead. All right? So then I'll have you come forward. We'll do this formal swearing in. Does this work? Is it working now?
Is the green light on?
Yes. Yeah. All right, I'll have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Zachary A. Hasch, do solemnly swear that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America.
I, Zachary A. Hasch, do solemnly swear that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
The Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin, the Charter, laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon.
the Constitution and the laws of the state of Wisconsin, the Charter, the laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon,
The rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics.
the rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department, and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department.
I will assume my duties as of December 22nd, 2025.
I will assume my duties as of December 22nd, 2025.
Megan. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Item 4B, presentation of Oregon Police Department staffing and organizational study by MGT Impact Solutions.
Okay, Mark, you're ready.
Did we get the new officers sworn in?
We did.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I was hoping to see that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm kidding. No, that's right. Well, good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Maybe just give me a wave to make sure.
I don't know if you can see us.
Terrific, terrific. So my name is Mark Hornstein, and I'm with MGT Consultants. I first just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to all of you, Village Administrator Martin Shanks, Chief of Police Jennifer Pagenkoff, for giving us the opportunity to conduct your organizational assessment. I personally really enjoyed it. The staff that I was able to interact with were just terrific. So I just want all of you to know that the men and women that you got over in that police department and the level of cooperation that we received was terrific. And because of that, it allowed us to be able to put together a nice report for you in a timely manner. So I want to say thank you for that. All right, I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll be as efficient as I can as far as walking through some of the highlights of the staff study that you have. And I would just ask if you could hold any questions that you might have until we get to the end here. So bear with me and make sure that you can see my screen in a second here.
See a screen.
Hold on.
It's coming. The Wi-Fi seems to be struggling a bit here. I was seeing it on my computer, but it's like very little.
Are you able to see the PowerPoint?
No,
I can no longer
now
understand any of you.
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, we got you.
You can see it? Okay. All right,
Yes.
great, because I can't see it. I can't see anything other than my PowerPoint right now.
Okay.
So, all right, as long as you can see it, we are good to go. So you're seeing the cover slide then, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You can see you can't hear us.
Okay, all right, terrific.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Recommendations. One of the things that I want to make sure that really comes through loud and clear and doesn't get lost among information and data that's in there is at the end of the day, the strongest or most important element here is going to be the need to add, increase your
Can't be.
If I get off the Wi-Fi.
I was gonna say, if we turn off our camera, sometimes doesn't that help with just bandwidth? We don't need our camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there too many people on it? Is that how that works?
I mean, usually it's fine.
Or do we get off?
Normally everybody in the building's on Wi-Fi.
Do we want to give him a call, Mark? It's not like
He could try turning on his video too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that usually helps.
So right now, the goal is to have the, when possible, and you'll see in our study that our recommendation is actually to increase that number to 3. There's a number of reasons behind that which we can talk about.
Mark,
But it's a key takeaway, and yeah.
Mark, we're gonna stop you just a second, because we were having some problems hearing you, so we didn't really hear much starting from the beginning, so.
Okay, no worries. Can you, how about now? Can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Should we have him turn off his camera?
Oh, yeah.
All good?
Yeah, and if you wanna go ahead and turn off your video. Thanks, Louise.
Your camera.
Okay, whose video did you want off?
Yours.
But if he turns off his video, we won't see his screen.
No, we should still see
No,
the
you
screen if
should
he's
still
screen
see the
sharing.
screen.
Just take
Turn
camera
his
off.
camera off.
We should still be able to see the screen here.
Okay, hold on 1 second here.
We should be.
Did he turn off his mic too?
Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
Okay, and we're all good on the audio, right?
Yep.
Yep. Sounds like it.
Okay. Okay. So, one of the things I just wanted to mention early on here is to make sure, well, there's a lot of information in the study, a lot of recommendations to not lose sight of the most important aspect, which is going to be the need to add additional phased-in control officer staffing over the next 16 years. Because at the end of the day, that is core function, core community support, core public safety are those sworn positions, above and beyond anything else that you see in the report. So I just wanted to mention that briefly. The other two key takeaways that we have in the report is the importance of setting a goal of increasing your minimum staffing from not just 2 officers on duty, but to 3. And we'll talk about, why that is. Because there's significant reasons behind that to support it. The third aspect is improving, or I should say, increasing your supervisory capabilities. Right now, you have a limited number of patrol supervisors on duty at any given time, and we feel strongly about the need to implement a model that will allow you to have 24/7 supervisory coverage and not just have a senior officer in charge. Again, there's reasons behind the rationale for that as well, which we can talk about. So, but that's sort of my opening slide that I wanted to mention to kick off here. Okay, how do we go about doing this is, there's some companies that will claim to have sort of proprietary software that they use when it comes to trying to determine staffing needs. We don't operate that way.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to pause this, and I'm gonna give him a call, and I'm gonna get the presentation up, so. You can continue with the agenda.
Go with the agenda.
Andy, do you have
Okay, without objection, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. Let's see. Yes, public comments. Thanks, Tom. Public comments. This part of the agenda allows members of the public to provide information to the village board, including items both on and off the agenda. Under the open meetings law, this agenda item allows the board to receive information and to ask questions of a presenter to facilitate a better understanding of the information. Board members may discuss procedural matters relating to the information, such as whether the information should be directed to staff, referred to a committee, or placed on a future board agenda. However, board members may not expand their discussion beyond such procedural matters. 15 minutes will be provided for this item with a 3-minute maximum per speaker. Do we have anyone here for public comments? No? Yes? Please come up, sir. You'd state your name and address for the record, and pull the microphone close, please.
Sounds good. My name is Andrew Anhalt. I live at 765 Foxfield Road here in Oregon, Wisconsin. I did submit my information, although I submitted a little late because this is a new avenue for me, so I apologize for that, but it will be available for the record if need be. I am here today to ask the Village Board and the Planning Commission of Oregon to strongly consider advising Glenn Hoffer, who is the current owner of Foxborough Golf Club and the surrounding areas, that any of his plans regarding development or rezoning of the golf course, the clubhouse, the pro shop, pavilion, parking lot, or cart parking area be denied. For one, I think the community overall, in my opinion, does not need more housing that necessarily removes current activities that are available. We're already pushing the edge of strain in terms of being a sleep-only community, which increases the level of crime at a pretty significant rate. And there are a number of studies that you can go review for that information if need be. The community has strongly opposed these development plans in multiple meetings now held at the library by Glenn. And I feel it is a responsibility of the board and the planning commission itself to take those under advisement to support the community and what their desires are. Thirdly, and this is kind of protection for Glenn and people's time, he has now submitted multiple rezoning applications, which I know cost him a significant amount of money. And I think if we could spend some time to tell him what his limits are, he would be able to set forth a more reasonable plan going forward that isn't having to have meeting after meeting after meeting that people are opposed to. Based off of his most recent information that he has sent out, I estimate, not being a real estate individual whatsoever, he could probably still do another 20 to 25 properties and come out of there with $2 to $2.5 million, depending on how much he gets on those, which I think would be fairly reasonable for what he has been asking to do so far. Any questions for me on this matter?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Thank
coming in.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments? State your name and address for the record. Pull the microphone close, please.
My name is Tina Mancusi. I live at 898 Fox Run Court in Oregon. And I don't have anything written, but I'm just here to state that I've lived in my house for 22 years. And I back up to the golf course. It used to be hole number 7. Now there's been some reconfiguring. I don't know what it is. I personally am not a golfer. My son went through the junior golf program in addition to golfing in high school. I love my backyard. I love my backyard not having any houses behind me. I love the wildlife that comes. There's the blue herons. There's a fox that lives in the neighborhood. There's geese. There's, you name it. I've taken a number of sunrise pictures in addition to sunsets where there's additional light that is refracted and beautiful. And having that taken away from me is very frustrating, especially because several years ago when I saw the surveyor come up, I actually called, Elise, I believe I spoke with you, and I said, there was a surveyor up there. Can you tell me what's going on? Is something happening? Is there building happening? And I got the, no, it's just sometimes they resurvey it, et cetera, and before we know it, there's more of the golf course that was taken away and land that's being sold. And the junior golf program, which is no longer there, which although my children are now adults, I have friends whose junior program, I'm not sure why they've taken that away, but there is a demand. People want the golf course. They want the 18-hole golf course. I'd like to see it remain a golf course. And my question to all of you is, what would be the reason why you would actually approve this when everybody at the meeting, and Elise can attest to this because she was there, everybody who met in the library raised their hand except for one person saying they would like to keep the 18-hole golf course. I would really like to see no development behind my house. Obviously, it's for the view and the peace and calm, but also I don't want to see more development. Epic was initially proposed to come to Oregon and it was turned down because they said we want it to be a small community feel. And I feel like we're losing that the more and more development that we have. And there's 250 homes of Viridian going up on the north side of town, if I understand that correctly. And so I just don't feel like we need any more development. I'd like to see the public golf course remain and ask each of you, why would you approve this when all of the residents, especially the ones who touch the golf course, are saying, no, we don't want this? I'm asking each of you.
Yep.
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
not comment to any of those things?
The rules prohibit us from commenting on your comments. Because
So,
it's not on the agenda.
so what can we do where I can get each of you to agree to back us, the homeowners, the taxpayers, that we don't need any more development? Can you explain to me what needs to happen?
To my knowledge, Mr. Hofer has had several neighborhood meetings, but he hasn't officially proposed anything to the village as of yet. So we don't have anything to respond to, really. Does that make sense?
So what can be done? I'm here, but
Well-
basically they're saying, who's showing up to the meeting? I'm showing up to the meeting to tell you I don't want this. None of my neighbors want this.
The opportunities will arise when Mr. Hofer presents his proposal to the Planning Commission and eventually to the Village Board. And that would be the time when the village would have Glenn's actual proposal that we can react to. But until then, we don't have anything to react to. What you attended were neighborhood meetings for the neighbors, but they were not village meetings.
No, I understand. I'm here to ask you all to consider, even though you don't have the plan, obviously it's coming down the pike. He's tried many, many times, and I don't want it. My neighbors don't want it. The community doesn't want it. We want to see the golf course remain. So I guess I'm stating for the record, I would like the golf course to remain, and I hope that you can look at all of us as homeowners. Obviously, the last meeting was filled with people and less people showing up, but yes, the planning meeting is, I believe, on Thursday, and we'll be showing up there as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
We
Keep doing that. Keep showing up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, anyone else for public comments? Come on up, sir, please. If you'd state your name and address for the record and speak, pull the microphone close, please. Yep, 3 minutes.
I do have a very loud mouth. My name is Greg Raff, and for those who don't know me, I am your VFW Post 10272 commander, and just recently elected as the District 2 commander, which goes from Brookfield all the way over to Mount Horeb and from Oregon up to Portage. As the representative of your VFW, we have a question of what can your VFW do for you? Oregon itself has been extremely generous in their giving for our poppies and when we do other fundraising events, in so much that Oregon itself has outgiven larger communities, Stoughton, some in part the Post in Madison. So Oregon is very nice. We want to know what we can do for Oregon because we want to help our community. And along those lines, last week we celebrated Memorial Day. There was a very few crowd downtown, and the commander of the Brooklyn, Oregon Legion had on her Facebook announcements that don't come to Oregon because there's nothing here to celebrate Memorial Day. We have given, there are people who've died to give us the freedoms. And there was no parade, there was no announcements. We really appreciate the police department supporting us. But there was no crowd, there was people there, but very limited. And it disheartens us as veterans to feel as we're not being supported. So I would just ask that maybe next year we can have some sort of more celebration than what we received this time. And to say, because again, Rhonda Valvogel, who is the commander, said actively on her Facebook, don't go to Oregon. There's nothing there. I want something here to celebrate Oregon. And we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comments? Public comments? Hearing none. Okay, moving on. Thank you. Item 5, approval of vouchers in the amount of $707,259.03. Staff recommendation, motion to approve. Motion by Higgins, second by Marks. Questions on this?
One question.
Go ahead.
if I could. This is more just clarifying. So there's a number of things, I'm not gonna list them out, but like a number like Pizza Huts and Deli and Muya and that kind of thing. I'm not even sure who to direct it to, but what's that all for? I guess is the question.
I would suspect they're
What page are you looking at?
meals for
I
some
wrote it
type
down.
of event.
It's on one of the pages. I don't know. It's kind of typing notes. Basically, the food.
If a lot of it's for when like officers or other staff members are at training somewhere,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
and it's their lunch, because most of the time the training doesn't provide meals when
Gotcha.
people are
Just
at
clarifying. That's all.
there. Yeah, that's what the majority of it's for.
Okay. Other questions? Lynn?
I just wanted a clarification on page 79, the architectural services from OPN. Is that for, I'm not even gonna guess. I have a couple guesses, but do you know what specific architectural services? Is it senior center?
So the architects have a contract to continue working with Portson as the project unfolds, and they bill not monthly, but they bill periodically.
Okay.
And currently, they're pretty actively involved in defining questions that come up based on the drawings. So they think they've got drawings done, and then, you know, the electrical guys are like, well, should this plate be here or should it be over here? Did you mean for it to be this way or that way? There's a lot of requests for information between the construction company and the architects at this stage, and a lot of redesign of certain drawings to accommodate little changes. And so actually the architects are working pretty hard still.
Great. I just wanted to know if it was senior center or something else, so thank you.
Rick?
I had a question, clarification again. I've just got a number written down, 6805479. It's Pelletary. There was a cost of just under 40,000 and another just under 15,000. Is that annual for the village, or is that for the village?
That's the monthly garbage and recycling pickup fee
For our own buildings or for
the whole village.
Okay, I'm
Because
just
it's billed
curious.
out on their utility bill
Yep, okay.
for water and sewer, and so then that's allocated out to everybody that has residential and commercial, or residential up to, I think it's a duplex pickup, and after anything that's considered commercial, they have their own services.
Mhm, thank you.
4 units, up to 4 units.
Is it 4?
Okay, any others? Okay, this will be a roll call vote. We have a motion by Higgins, second by Marks.
Lees,
Aye.
McDaniel,
Yes?
Marks,
Aye.
Kirchdorfer,
Yes.
Van Campen,
Yes.
Higgins,
Yes.
and Knipfer.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are we gonna proceed, or?
We can, yep, we got this up and we're gonna call him and get him on the phone.
All right, no, I'm gonna.
So
pause.
let's switch, yep, if you can just pause
Okay.
for a second.
Okay,
Let us get you on. I'm tempted just to call her. What? Yeah, I'm gonna. Hello, Mark.
Yes.
Thank you very much for calling. What's that?
Yeah, no, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can.
Okay. So am I on speaker now?
You are on speaker and we have the first page of the slide up.
Okay. Great, so let me just get back to my screen.
So if you can just tell us when you're switching your slide, we can move the slide as well.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. So we got, everybody was able to hear my introduction, correct? We heard that
Yes.
originally?
No, I would start over.
Seriously, I would start over.
We lost focus.
Okay, so we're just gonna start from the very beginning, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay, all right, gotcha. All right, well, first and foremost, I wanted to thank everybody. I want to thank the village for selecting us. I want to thank Village Administrator Martin Shanks, Chief Jennifer Pagenkoff for putting their faith in us and allowing us to do this important work for you. It really was a pleasure working with that I met with all the stakeholders internally, village employees, police department employees, and then of course the opportunity to meet with some of your community leaders as well. So it was a very good experience, and I enjoyed my time up there and enjoyed working on this project. So that's first off a large thank you. Just my personal background is that I'm a retired police chief. I was had 32 plus years in law enforcement in Illinois, and then I've done consulting for the last 3+ years. So that's kind of my background leading into this. But back to all of you. So let's go to slide number 2, and it should say executive summary.
Yes.
And there's a lot of information, in the report that I'm sure you've seen, and I just want to make sure that we get it crystal clear that the most important thing as you filter through, all the information, all the recommendations, is that the need to build up your sworn staff, sworn personnel, in the coming years is the most important recommendation that we do have here in the study, to plan for the future and to be able to meet the needs of the community. The second item on here to mention, the highlight of importance, is the idea of increasing your minimum patrol staffing to having 3 officers on duty at all times versus the desired level of 2, which is what you currently have. And then finally, the idea or concept of introducing or adding additional supervisory resources within the department to provide you or put you in a situation where you can be counting on 24/7 supervision, which you don't have now because you don't have the resources for it, and you have oftentimes a senior officer that may be left in charge. And we can talk a little bit more about that and why we feel that's so important to increase that capacity. Next slide, please. So it should be study methodology should be next. When we kicked this study off, and we talked about this with Martin and Chief at the very beginning, that we were not going to take a cookie cutter approach to looking at the organization. There's some companies that will say they have proprietary software that they use to determine staffing levels. We don't operate that way. We used a number of different methods, both qualitative and quantitative as well, between looking at data and talking to people to interpret the data, to make sure there was a clear understanding of where things were at. So, including the site visits that were done, the 3 days that I spent up there, actually seeing your community and meeting and talking with people. So, next slide, we should say 11 key findings that are on there. So 11 areas, and I won't talk about every single one of these in great detail. I'm just going to do a very high level overview here briefly. Is your organization right now, it's a highly professional, well-run department first and foremost, okay? It's simply resource constrained as it stands right now with staffing. And the men and women of the department, the chief, they're doing all that they can do with what they have right now. And it's just kind of beyond their limits without getting more additional resources to do more to support the community. And that ties right in with the expected population growth impact that we know is coming in the next 20 years, and wanting to plan for that in advance. We'll talk a little bit about workload concentration. You'll see, in our study, we're able to identify some really busy peak periods that put a tremendous amount of strain on the department resources. It also segues into obligated workload when we talk about having to deal with transports, whether that's of a prisoner or, somebody that may be suffering a mental health event and needs a transport to mental health facility. These are all things that cut into officers' ability to be responding to calls for service, be policing the community, so on and so forth. We know that you've had some turnover in the last 3 years. That does lead to a less experienced workforce. I know, I'm pretty sure I got a slide coming up where I think you've currently got 11 officers that have, I think, less than 4 years experience on the job. That is something that is going to take some time to overcome that vulnerability. You can't impart institutional knowledge and experience overnight. It's just going to take time for those folks to learn and get better. With limited sergeant supervision, that strains your supervisory capacity. We'll talk a little bit about a couple things that have been missing with specialty functions as far as investigations. Behavioral health demand, we'll get into a little bit about that, about a lot of these calls, some of these calls for service that can be very time consuming and demanding that are mental health related. Recruitment and retention, we'll touch on that. And then also, when you are short on staffing, that's going to have a direct impact on your ability to get out and be proactive in community engagement and also in traffic education and enforcement as well. And then lastly, we'll touch a little bit about civilian administration and then talk a little bit about policy. Policy we'll actually mention here in the very next slide. So that'll be slide number 6, should say policy management. So one thing we look at when we examine a police organization is how are your policies managed. And number one, Oregon is an accredited agency within the state of Wisconsin, which is fantastic. And the majority of your policies are well aligned. They are meeting industry standards or exceeding industry standards. We only really found 3 areas that we felt were worth mentioning, and these are actually ones that the chief and I have already chatted about and are already going to be worked on. So the fact that there was only 3 policies flagged for review when they've got hundreds of policies over there is a compliment to the chief and a compliment to the department as far as how those policies are being looked at and being managed. That being said, we do think that there's a benefit of outsourcing your policy management. When you're a small agency, it's difficult to stay up to date on continual changes in statutory law, constitutional law, best practices in the industry. And there's outside companies that offer that service and can do it for you at reasonable costs. And they're going to be able to come to you with state-specific recommendations and best practices in the industry that you want to be updating your policies on and hence informing your officers about, so that way they're going to be well informed and being able to go out there and perform their jobs in a manner that are consistent with where the law is and what best practices are. By doing all that, it lowers your liability, increases professionalism, and certainly takes away some of the burden on the internal police staff as a whole for the amount of work and research and time that has to go into something like that. So we strongly agree with the department's concept or idea to want to look at that and move that way of getting into outsourcing policy management. Next slide, which should be stakeholder perspectives. So as I mentioned, when I had come out there for 3 days of site visits, I sat down with internal department staff as well as external community stakeholders, and internally, there was a lot of compliments about how well the department heads, communicate amongst each other, and whether it's dealing with after hours call outs for a weather event or just any type of interdepartmental assistance. The good working relationships there within the village. Complimentary about the work that the chief has done, particularly as it related to the SRO relationship with the schools was mentioned, and overall very positive. External, the community supports the police, and that's really, as an outsider for me coming in and hearing that really is saying a lot about the work that's been done, by the department, because you don't always hear that in every community that you go to. So to hear that when I came in there was really nice to hear. A couple concerns that they expressed about, looking for maybe some improved communication when it comes to public communications. some comments about concern about mental health and addiction in the community. They'd love to see some community prevention programs that had and community engagement programs that had been historically performed by the department in years past, which simply just have not, the department can't do anymore because they just don't have the resources for it. And then, there's a concern, of course, about making sure that the chief staying in the SRO position is not going to be sustainable. And that's something the chief and I have already chatted about too. And I think everyone's in agreement on the same page with that. If we can go to the next slide, which is slide 7, should say investigations. We of course look at the whole agency, and we look at what's going on in the detective unit. When we did the study, they had a vacancy at the time where they were down to 1 detective, where ideally they should be staffed at 2, and ideally there's another officer that's serving in the school resource officer role. That actually, since the time we've concluded the study, my understanding is the department has been able to put 1 person back into investigations to get them back to 2, which is good. The good news is that, in looking at the caseload, they're averaging 84. Each detective is averaging 42 cases, per year, 84 total for the unit, which is a manageable load. And even though we're expecting growth in the community as far as population and ultimately calls for service will increase, it doesn't automatically mean that you've got to rush to this assignment and start adding another detective on there. A lot of increases in calls for service may have nothing to do that are going to require follow-up investigations. Traffic crashes or disturbance calls and these types of things are generally going to be handled by patrol and aren't going to require the need for a detective to do a follow-up. So we don't push for looking at that in our study until much later on down the road. Seeing on what type of cases are coming in. Based on the numbers, we don't think you'll be up to 59 cases per detective until about 2043. So next slide, please, which should be the SRO program. Everybody's still tracking and everybody can still hear me. I want to make sure we still good. Candy, did I get a yes?
You're good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. When we look at the SRO program, you've currently got one officer designated as an SRO. Of course, it's a split cost with the schools, which is a great thing. But one of the things that you may want to consider is if you look at the national average. We use NASRO, which is the National School Resource Officer Association, as a benchmark, and based on NASRO's recommendation, the metrics that they have is ideally you have 1 SRO per 1,000 students. Right now obviously you're well above that with 3164. Is it realistic to get it down to that 1 to 1,000 ratio? Probably not. But that being said, ideally, if in the future years you could partner with the schools to add a second SRO, that would bring that ratio way down. I mean, you'd get down to 1582 right there. And just given the number of schools and the responsibilities that SRO has, now more than ever, it's important to consider that in your long-term planning goals. Okay, if we can go to slide, should be slide number 9, Support Services Division. You have a pretty lean model over there right now as it relates to how you're staffed on the civilian side of the house. They're all working hard and performing their jobs effectively from what we can see. There's no fat there. Like it's lean. It's definitely a lean model for sure, and there's no excess. So if anything, as call volumes will potentially increase, and you include more technology. So say, for example, not just body cameras, but if you're increasing, if you're adding mobile video systems into your squad cars and you're getting more open records requests for reports and videos per se, those tasks do take time. And that has something has to be monitored. So as time goes by, and if these records requests, public records requests, are increasing, and there's digital evidence demands that are increasing, then that may be a time to revisit this and say, okay, do we need to add potentially another civilian down the road? Maybe. You don't need it now by any means, but it's just something to monitor, just as you'll have to monitor the impact that the growth of the community is going to have as the years begin to tick on by. Next slide, please. So this should be patrol staffing and shift relief. One of the metrics we look at is how many bodies does it take to staff one 8-hour position, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And, based on the desire to have a minimum shift staffing level of 2 officers per shift, that means you have to be at 12, which is where you're at. But keep in mind, that is literally the baseline, the very basic. It does not account for peak demand calls for service. It doesn't account for the need to have proper supervisory coverage. It doesn't account for the ability to be proactive with community engagement. Furthermore, what can be very difficult on a shift relief factor is when you have vacancies. When you have vacancies, that's more to get backfilled, in the organization, whether it's typically going to be overtime to have to do that. And all those vacancy hours, they drive that shift relief factor up. So your number's at a 1.91. Ideally, this is a number we'd love to see down closer to more like 1.5 in a different scenario here. Those hours that you see on the slide that say total off-duty hours, those are hours that are not related to an officer's regular scheduled days off. Those can be vacancy hours due to an officer left the department, so you're literally one officer down. It could be training hours where an officer is assigned to training away from the department. And all those numbers add up over time. So the more vacancies that you have, the higher that number is going to be, both in total hours of vacancy time, and it's going to drive up your shift relief factor. So, next slide, please. We should be 11. And this is calls for service workload concentration. The good news, if you will, is that your calls for service have actually been pretty steady and went down slightly, 10%, right, from 2023 to 2025. But you have to be cautious in looking at this and not read into this the wrong way, meaning that, calls for service have gone down. That means we actually need fewer cops. No, that's not true at all, because what it doesn't account for is when you've got your peak demand patterns, when there's a high volume for calls, when the calls that your officers are on are taking lengthy amounts of time, and in some cases hours. When you're involved in cases that involve an arrest, a transport, a mental health situation that may take a long time to resolve, that could ultimately result in a transport. These are all things that are going to impact that workload, and those officers are out of service at that point in time. So if you only have 1 or 2 officers on duty and they're tied up on a call for service that is, an hour or more or longer, the only way you're getting help is getting mutual aid, right? And getting the sheriff's office to come out and to respond for a call for service, because you've got both your officers that are tied up. So I don't want, just because you see that number coming down, don't misread that by any means. And if we go to the next slide, which is 12, please, it should say aligning staffing with demand. One of the suggestions that we made in the report that you'll see to try and address sort of this peak demand period, which, as you saw, is on generally are going to be on late, on Friday afternoons around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. During the weekday, and even on even on weekends for that matter, as it's illustrated by this chart here. One suggestion that we have in the report, we presented a sort of a model, a hybrid model of an 8 to 10 hour, a blend of 8 to 10 hour shifts, which really it could create a situation for you where you'd have up to 4 to 5 officers on duty between that really busy period of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. You know, again, there's going to be give and take with that as far as you're not going to have 4 to 5 officers on duty, you know, all day and in the evening, but at least it's a concept that it could give you some horsepower during that peak demand period. Understand that this is it's a framework, it's a model that we presented. We realize there's, you know, collective bargaining issues that would have to get addressed. There'd have to be buy-in and interest from, you know, from the officers in the department to want to look at something like this. But there's the potential for a win-win on here because it could improve service to the community, and then simultaneously for officers who do like having sort of a 6 and 3 schedule, officers who might be interested in a 10-hour shift that actually would give them a 5 and 4 schedule. So that's even fewer days to work, fewer days of literally driving into work. You're saving commute time. I mean, what is your time worth? I mean, there's a benefit to the officers there as well if they like 10s. And there's a clear benefit for resource allocation to the community by being able to put more officers on duty during these peak demand periods of time. Okay, next slide, please, which should be 13, officer to population benchmark. One other metric that we looked at, in addition to calls for service and shift relief factors, is officer to population benchmark. So you're currently, based on your population that you're in today and the 21 sworn officers that you have, you're at 1.69, which is slightly below the regional peer average of the towns listed there of 1.74. If you do nothing, you choose, you know, not to hire any other officers, and your population grows as expected to that 17,000 mark by 2045, you would actually fall off this chart. You'd be down to 1.24, which would literally put you off the chart. So we show this just in relation to where you're at for benchmarking in comparison to peer communities as one metric, right? This is not, population is not the end all be all by any means. That's why we used a number of metrics here, but this is one that we did want to illustrate and show that. Next slide, please. So with this in mind, the phase staffing plan that we have is we want to be realistic. When I had talked with Chief and talked with Martin, early on, we said that we want to be able to look at this, and if we find areas here where we think you need to go, we want to do it where it's realistic. We don't want to give you something that is a pipe dream and is not practical at all. So we tried to do just that here with this proposal, meaning that this is a phased-in plan, over 16 years. And the reason we say 16 versus 20 is because we want you to be in a position where when you hit 20, you're there, meaning that you're staffed where you should be 20 years from now, not waiting to the 20-year mark. So if you ramp this up over the next 16 years, based on our estimates, you should be in a good place. It allows for time to determine, what is the best path forward in trying to budget for this, and it could be done very incrementally, very slowly, over time. Okay, next slide, please, which is reported crime trends. Good news here when we look at your crime numbers, NIBRS, and National Incident-Based Reporting System, is that it's trending in the right direction, right? I mean, you've got, when you look at where you were in 23 to 25, you want crimes to go down. That improves quality of life, desirability to live in the community, property values, everything. It's a win-win. So that's a positive for sure. That you're seeing that. But again, similar to where the calls for service have gone down, you got to be careful not to read this the wrong way, meaning that even though the crime numbers have been, have pointed in the right direction as far as the arrow has, your case complexities, that's unchanged. And when I talk about case complexities, I mean that a lot of times now when somebody goes to conduct an investigation, whether it's a burglary, whether it's a fraud investigation, it's going to involve an element of technology. You may be needing to seek out, there's how many video doorbells on any given block, for a residential neighborhood these days. If you're needing to access that, that's very time consuming. You have a fraud investigation. A lot of times a lot of those crimes are going to be perpetrated through technology, meaning that you've got to get court orders, subpoenas, search warrants, all of that. All of these types of investigations become more complex and more time consuming. So those have remained steady, and I don't see that going away anytime soon, as far as where we're at in technology and the requirements that are going to remain in place for officers and investigators, for that matter, to have to meet in order to complete a successful investigation. So next slide, please, which is 16, obligated workload. I talked about this a little bit at the onset, which is I think sometimes people, they don't realize how much time is involved when it comes to having to do custodial transports, whether it's for an arrest, or for behavioral health, mental health situation. If you do a look back over the last 3 years, the department's had 478 hours of time. That's just for transports, right? So if you're having to commit that time for transporting individuals, you're not on the street, you're not on the road being able to respond to calls for service, and you're certainly not out there being able to be proactive, helping with traffic education, traffic enforcement. And I think where we've talked about those retention struggles and where there's been significant officer turnover in the last 3 years, I think if you look at the turnovers compared to where you're at with your total traffic stops and citations, you can almost see a direct correlation there, because those numbers have steadily declined, right? And why is that? Because if I'm the only officer working, or there's 2 officers on duty, you really don't have much time to dedicate to doing those types of activities, because you really do need to focus on being available for calls for service when somebody calls 911 and needs help. So when you're low on resources, these are the types of things that tend to go away, right? Being able to be proactive in education enforcement for traffic, and then obviously with community engagement for sure. You're just not able to do it at the level you'd like to. Next slide, please, which is slide 17, response time performance. The good news is that your officers are absolutely still getting to those calls. If you look at the average time, they're getting the calls in about 5 minutes or so, give or take, depending on the type of call. So that is a good thing. That help is coming, help is on the way, and that shows an understanding of the officers' need to prioritize what they're doing with their time, and certainly being able to stay available, if at all possible, and then get to those calls when they come in. Okay, so next slide, which would be slide 18, behavioral health response. These calls can be very involved at times. If you have an individual that's going through an episode, a situation, we want now more than ever for our officers to be sensitive to that and implement de-escalation techniques. But those things take time. If we want to bring an incident to a successful conclusion where the person's getting the help that they need and no one's getting hurt and no one's getting taken to jail, and instead they're getting referred to or getting resources that they need, that's a win for everybody. But those things take time when you're interacting with individuals, and they can't be rushed. So again, because of that, has an impact on availability for officers. Unfortunately, if transport for a committal is required where they have to go to Winnebago County, that can be 8+ hours having to do that, where you've got 2 officers that are just not available. So, that's impactful. So because of that, one of the things that's really trending and has been the last couple of years, not just in the Madison area, but in other parts of the country, is sort of this integrated co-responder mental health model, meaning that you get help from, the officers get assistance from, a trained professional social worker who is non-threatening, who has obviously trained skills to be able to help in so many ways. And it takes a lot of the pressure off the officers, not just in the moment for where maybe there's a crisis call, but sometimes even for follow-up that can happen, where you get a bad call on a Saturday night. If you have somebody that can help with social services, maybe there's a follow-up call on a Monday morning on behalf of a social worker to a family about, okay, let's talk about what we can do to get your resource. So in the report, you'll see that we've got kind of 3 different models that we proposed for consideration. One being a full-time social worker, one being a contracted co-responder, and the third being a shared regional model, which would be sharing with at least 2 other communities. And when you look at the numbers on here, just so you know, these particular numbers here, when you say like, okay, full-time social worker, $108,000, that would be in today's dollars. The dollars that you see in the report for the sworn staffing positions, those are projected out costs over the years. Those are real dollars in those years. That's actual costs. This one, the only reason we didn't put those actual costs in there for social worker, because this is merely a concept. Again, the priority goes back to sworn personnel. This is a concept, and if it's something you wanted to explore, then of course we could sharpen the pencil a little bit on what that might look like in a few years. But we didn't want to confuse the issue, by putting that in as a fixed cost into your planning and projection purposes. So that's the behavioral health response. Next slide, please, which is recruitment and retention. So yes, there's been 9 separations in the organization in the last 3 years, and that's led to, I think I mentioned earlier, you've got 11 officers with less than 4 years experience, which is definitely a challenge. We really want to focus on retention. And the department has, from what I can see, is that everything they possibly could internally to try and do that. I mean, they did an amazing job with that recruitment video. That was one of the first things I looked at when we were considering doing this job for you. And I saw that, I'm like, that is fantastic. I love it. And then you end up winning an award for it, even better yet. So that's been outstanding, the efforts that you've made. We know that it's going to take more, though, right? We've got to be proactive with it. And one of the big things that there's no way of getting around is making sure that you're doing periodical benchmarking, with the region. We know it's a challenge. We know that, we're not always in departments, smaller agencies are not always going to be the highest paying, but can we do everything we can to remain competitive? And what else can we offer to folks to have them, A, want to come here, but B, want to stay here? And to that, we really do think that the plan or the idea of being able to double your supervisory staff is going to open a lot of doors that you don't have open right now. So if I'm a maybe a less experienced younger officer on your department now, and I'm kind of looking ahead and saying, oh, well, there's only 3 sergeants positions available for promotion, and those sergeants haven't been in those positions very long. There's not much opportunity for me for growth here. If I want to get promoted, and I'm going to look to go to, another department. If you get to the point where you've now doubled that opportunity, where instead of 3, now there's 6 positions, to me, that's really kind of a game changer. And it could go a long way in helping people want to stay because they know there's more opportunities for it as well. Same with keeping your investigation unit fully staffed, potentially having an opportunity to go do that or other specialty assignments. We know that culture is always going to be important with organizations. I know the chiefs worked hard at that, and that's got to be an ongoing, continual effort for sure, right? We look at workload, sustainable schedules. The schedule system that they have now is good with the 6 and 3s. there could be an appetite potentially that would be appealing. Again, going back to maybe implementing a hybrid with those 10-hour schedules, because it could be even more advantageous or exciting for officers to want to be interested in that. And again, the village wins on that too with resource allocation. And then finally, implementing some formal mentorship and early coaching. A structured program. I know that can happen sort of anecdotally and informally, but a structured program goes a long way as well. So those are some of the suggestions that we have with regard to recruitment and retention. So next slide, which is priority recommendations. Just to kind of recap, it comes down to planning for the future, getting you to 30 sworn officers, getting a minimum of 3 officers on a shift. And let me just touch on that for a minute in case I went too fast over that. Why 3 is that if you're only running with 2, it limits your ability to be proactive in the community, to be more visible in the community, have community engagement opportunities, limits your opportunity to be proactive for traffic education and enforcement. Again, it goes back to if there's only 1 or even 2 officers on duty, you're going to be reluctant to want to put yourself out of service to go and engage or even get involved in traffic enforcement, because now you're down and a call for service comes in and you don't have the ability to respond. If you've made a traffic stop and maybe that turns into an arrest or something, you tend to be more less inclined to want to engage in that proactive activity, because you don't want the town to be left in a situation where there's not anybody available, or you've got to use outside resources for responses. And the reality is there's a difference between the quality service you're going to get from an Oregon police officer coming to your house, and I don't mean this to talk about other outside agencies not being as good, but I would say that an Oregon police officer is going to care more about the quality of service that they're giving to that resident, probably more so than somebody who doesn't work in the town and doesn't have sort of that commitment to the community that your officers have. So the supervisory thing too is so important to having a trained sergeant on duty 24 hours a day is going to be able to help mentor and develop in real time those less experienced officers that you have, right? So it does that. It reduces liability to your department, because a senior patrol officer just is not going to have that same level of training and experience that a sergeant will have gone through to be able to provide that guidance, to a junior officer or officers that are on shift. So that 24/7 supervision will go a long way in helping reduce liability for all of you. I know we talked about investigations, restoring that to 2 detectives, and getting somebody other than the chief into the SRO position. And I talked, I think, at pretty good length about the behavioral health recommendations that are in there. And then obviously we just touched on recruitment and retention. So next slide is the last slide. And I know I kind of went on for a long time there, and I hope I wasn't too vague, and I'm certainly happy to try and answer any questions that you may have at this time. Hopefully you got everything I was able to hear everything that I was able to get out to mention.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Let me check board for questions. Lynn?
I have a couple. So the first thing, and this is, I don't know which, sorry. Thank you. Mark, my name is Lynn McDaniel. I'm on the board. I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I don't know if they're to you or to Chief, okay?
Sure.
Okay, great. Adding a supervisory position, at what point do we get into a space where we're too top heavy? I'm a little, the way you explained it, Mark, in having that senior leadership at all times for mentorship and growth, I think is really helpful. But I guess one of the things I'm concerned about is with such a small department, adding another supervisory role, are we hitting a potential tipping point of being too top heavy?
Yeah, so the answer to that would be no, you would not be getting too top heavy because we don't view a sergeant as being in a senior leadership position. The senior leadership is, chief and lieutenants. That's your senior leadership team there. Sergeants are going to be, that's, line supervision, working the shifts. Because I know now you've got lieutenants that will, because of resource constraints, lieutenants that will actually be filling in, and the chief can speak to this more, but they will actually be filling in to help backfill shift coverages, and that puts a tremendous strain on their abilities to complete all the administrative functions that they have. So the last thing you ever want to have is, I agree with what you're saying, is to not get too top heavy. That's why we're not we're not recommending, and I didn't mention this in the PowerPoint, but we're not recommending a deputy chief's position right now. We don't want you to get too top heavy. We feel that you're going to be better served if you're adding more to that line supervision. To have a sergeant on there in the middle of the night, right, and and all those off hours and holidays and everything where senior staff are going to be off, that's kind of the thinking. We don't view that as top heavy.
Okay.
And then, so I'll just add, so I didn't get the PowerPoint, but in the report, what Mark covers is in 2027, a new officer would be added, 2028, a new officer would be added. The first supervisor would be 2029. Okay. And so that bottom half of the structure is starting to build. I'll tell you right now how we cover this, and it's not ideal whatsoever. We actually had one officer leave because he felt burnt out by it, is if there's something critical that occurs, the officer in charge is the one with the most seniority. As Mark covered, quite a bit of our roster is pretty young. What happens is, you get that 3-year to 5-year officer who happens to be the most senior on that shift in that moment. If they're the one making more of those decisions, because it has to be quick, they tend to get burnt out. And it can be very stressful on them. If time is not of the essence, what we have in place now is that we have a sergeant on call and then a secondary on call. But it's not uncommon that, we all have lives, right? Especially on the weekends. So it's not uncommon that an officer will go through the sergeant on call, the secondary, the lieutenant, and then even me. But eventually somebody will answer, but still that can kind of be frustrating for officers. So as we become a bigger community, having a supervisor who has that responsibility to supervise, and that's their highest priority role, it can be very effective for these higher stress calls.
Okay, great. And then my second question is this behavioral health component. I want to just get out and say I think that's a really cool idea. I would love to see Oregon be a leader in some of that work. I would expect that that's not a sworn officer, correct?
Yeah, you're correct. That would be like a licensed clinical social worker.
So that's someone that you could get on staff without having to wait for academy training or things like that, potentially?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. There's I was based out of a suburb north of Chicago, and we had a lot, not to compare, but we had a lot of suburbs that, we all employed, many of us employed full-time social workers, licensed clinical social workers, and they were just invaluable.
Yeah, and what I would add, so when Mark brought this forward, did not surprise me. This can be a very effective program. We talked about timeline-wise when this would be most impactful. We need more boots on the ground first, in my opinion, just to make sure that social worker is safe, because some of these situations are very dangerous. One of the reasons that I'm a lead in accreditation through Wiley Egg is just because I like to sign up for some of these bigger departments that we're eventually going to grow into and see what's working, what's not working, and then kind of get a feel for, is this what our community would benefit, this area, or is it maybe some tweaking? In my opinion, one of the communities that I was really impressed with was City of La Crosse. They have one that rides along with the officer, which is nice because it not only, that social worker is not going to be on 24/7. The village could not afford that. I don't even think the city of Madison has theirs on 24/7. But what it does is not only is that social worker helping the person in crisis and can do the follow-up, but they can kind of bridge that trust with the police department too. So if ever that social worker is not available, they may feel more comfortable reaching out to us in that absence. So I think, Mark, you'd have to remind me where you put that in the timeline, but it was, I think, within the next 6-7 years, if I remember right. Is that right?
We had said, 2029, but only after, 2 patrol officers, were added and the first, additional sergeant.
And that would help with oversight with the program too, so, because we want it to succeed. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can only imagine it would help with burnout quite a bit, which would be nice. And then, sorry, my last really quick comment is the 10-hour schedule thing is an interesting idea. I am not even going to sign other people up for that. I'm just going to say out loud, like, that's an interesting idea to be thinking about, talking to officers about. I thought it was a unique idea.
Yeah, I would say with the hours, there's a lot of pros and cons on both sides. And then you have the union contract too, where it's listed. The union representative for our police department, he and I have had a few conversations about it, but it really is just emphasized that they need to understand the pros, but also the cons. We've seen a few other police departments within our county that are a similar size that have tried the 10-hour, going in, fully invested, excited about it, and then now are seeing kind of some of the cons. So, if we're gonna make this change, it is a hard change for some people with family lives, just making them aware. Another con that can be out there, not necessarily for the officers, but for community members, in some situations where, especially if it's a sensitive crime, if they are still working with that officer, it's harder to have them continue to give them information days later when they work 10 hours, because it's less days. So there just are some challenges, some nuances.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Tim?
Yeah.
Pass the conch.
All right. First of all, Mark, thanks for the report. I think there's some really good insight in there, and I like kind of the staged increases in staffing that aligns with how we look at a lot of other strategic planning and capital planning. Couple of thoughts. I guess the biggest thing that stood out to me was when we have a mental health transport, why does that have to go to Winnebago County? Is there no resource in Madison?
For involuntary mental health, it has to be Winnebago. I myself, as a chief, have even gone to the Capitol and strongly advocated for more facilities like Winnebago, closer, different areas of the state. But no, it is simply Winnebago.
That's insane.
They have the funding for it, but it has not happened. Yeah.
And then the other question I had around prisoner transport is, what capability do we have to detain someone and hold them for a period of time? Do we have to pretty much get them, like if they're going to go to Dane County Jail, do we have to pretty much get them there right now? Or can we hold them for days?
So we don't want to do that. The longer we hold them, the liability is there. So if they have a medical issue, and they pass or they end up in the hospital, a lot of that's looked at. So an example, like a domestic, right? We're mandated to make arrest. Typically, we'll bring them back to our police department because we have to go through quite a bit of paperwork, and then we take them to the jail. Those type of transports typically take, I would say, 2 hours at the most. Your psych-related transports, I would say 7 to 8 times out of 10, they have to be medically cleared. Okay. That is where we sit forever, is at hospitals. They're, overworked with everything they have going on. And they certainly have, people in much higher need for medical treatment at times. So it's not uncommon that we can be there for 6 to 12 hours before we actually take them to jail or take them to some sort of psych unit.
And then I also wanted to say that the idea of, the mental health resources I really support. And one thought I had there was, maybe I'm betraying the fact that I watch too much TV and movies, but I think of the police officer role that is a hostage negotiator. That's like a specialized training that a police officer receives. Is there anything in the people who train police officers that are thinking about training this as a specialty, which might then also be a career path opportunity for police officers? Because there is that issue of some of these situations, yes, they require some mental health consultation, but they can also get dangerous.
Yes.
And you want that police officer potentially, to be in a position to be able to protect themselves.
Yes.
Is there anything developing in the police community nationally to develop that kind of specialty skill?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of training out there. I would say, in my opinion, one of the most effective is the crisis intervention training. We have really invested a lot into that because I've seen great outcome from it. Our officers are prepared if it does go, that becomes an aggressive incident, but many times it's just giving the person some time to process and allowing our officer to work through it, kind of like a negotiation type, vibe. We've seen some really good outcome from that. But it leans back to what Mark's saying, where then these calls go from half hour, like they did it back in the old days, to it could be 3 hours, it could be 6. But, we want to have the best outcome in those situations.
Right, yeah, the quickest outcome isn't always the best outcome. You can put somebody on cuffs and throw them in a jail cell real quick, but that doesn't mean you've solved the problem or made the community safer.
Correct.
Right.
And,
So I appreciate
many of these
that.
situations we're dealing with the same individuals over and over again.
In some ways, you can make it worse.
Right,
Doing that.
exactly, yeah, create more family stress, more whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so the crisis intervention training is excellent. It really gets at the root of communicating, trying to understand and work through, and trying to remove triggers that might escalate things. Sometimes it's just inevitable, but we really work hard to help and support.
Awesome, thank you.
Matt?
Hi, Mark. We're passing the phone around here. So this is Matt Lees with the board.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, and I don't know if this is for you or for the chief, but I'll ask. I was thinking about something. It was a great presentation. A few years back, the Border Patrol actually, they had a large influx in that, and they had an issue with manning because of, mostly hospital transport and that kind of thing, right? So they started hiring what they called Border Patrol coordinators. I forget the exact name. That might not be it, but long story short, they could do hospital watch, they could do transport, and they were lower level employees, so it saved money overall. And I can't remember if they were sworn or not, to be honest with you, but is that something that we've looked at or that would be useful potentially? I don't know, because if somebody's got to go to Winnebago, we don't necessarily want to pull an officer off the street here in Oregon, right? And so, I throw that out as just a consideration, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So there are some counties and municipalities that do that. It is very costly because they're taking on that liability with that transport. There's not anyone, to my knowledge, in Dane County. My husband works for Walworth County. They do that. They have an ambulance service that provides that transport. But no, the cost and the liability are two of the big reasons that most don't go with it. And for us, for Winnebago, so normally we have 2 working at all times. It can sometimes go down to 1, but if we have a Winnebago trip, that's a 2-officer person transport. So what we end up having to do is call in other officers to work the road, and then the hospital will typically hold them there, hopefully, until we can get up, and then we do the transport. But yeah, that's a 2-officer minimum transport. I would say probably about 6 hours, give or take, depending on how fast you can get them through. Now that's non-voluntary. Like I would say 50-60%, maybe a little bit more, are voluntary, but at any point they can turn in voluntary and then we come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, of course. I had a follow up, but I forgot.
Yeah.
I'll pass the couch here.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Rick Marks, another Village Board member, and I just had a question about, you were mentioning with the mental health issues, the issues with being able to have somebody on staff that would be possibly not a sworn officer, but somebody that's more specialized in doing that. We're also investigating the possibility of having joint agreements with some of the other communities around us. Would this be a particular role that, I don't know, it might be for you, Chief, that would be really well designed for potential for something like that, having several communities being able to support a single position?
So I actually mentioned that as well. I think where the challenges will be if it's only one person, they're gonna be maxed out. And some of those communities have a much higher need for it. So it'll be interesting to kind of navigate how we can make sure we're getting our money's worth out of that position too. So it may be more than one, but I think that's certainly a good point.
Or also possibly a service which could be capable of handling more calls than one at a time, but not necessarily having to have all of that available 24/7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Phil, if I could add one more
Please.
thing. So one of the things, I know that this is built in, I think Mark said 2029. If we are able to add these additional officers, in that time we're waiting to add that potential piece with a social worker, my goal would be to create some sort of officer that we, really invest in more training in this. Dane County has community deputies, they call them. But what they do is they go through briefings and they find out what the mental health calls were for the day. And then they follow up with those families to see how it's going and if there's anything they can do. And in my opinion, the most important piece, advocating for them. Because those resources are stretched thin. So it's really trying to push to get that community member connected with the right services. So in the meantime, if I'm able to, get these positions, that would be my goal. I think that is a good substitute until maybe we can level up to a social worker. And I think that might help as, if we move forward with that embedded social worker in whatever capacity. I think it'll also give us more information of exactly how we could use that position and really benefit.
Anybody else? If I can make a quick comment, we've heard tonight about the challenges facing the department, but if you bear with me, I'd like to read the good news from this summary. Despite these challenges, Oregon Police Department demonstrates strong organizational fundamentals. The department maintains positive community relationships, effective operational practices, and general alignment with professional standards. The issues identified in this report are not indicative of organizational deficiencies, but rather reflect the realities of a growing community and evolving service segmentation. So there are significant challenges, but the chief and the officers and the staff have done a great job with resources available. I just wanted to.
Thank you.
Let that.
Thank you.
Okay. And thank you, Mark. Any other? Oh, is Mark still on?
He's still on.
Oh, any further comments, Mark?
I think I appreciate that you read that comment because it really does do a great job of summing it up. I mean, they are doing a great job. And look, if our goal was to come in and give you an honest assessment, right? An unbiased, honest assessment. And if they weren't, we would have shared that. But we're really happy to report that they are. They're really maximizing and doing everything that they can with what they have. And they're just resource constrained. That's all. The last thing I just want to kind of say to close is I know we've had a lot of discussion here, and there were a lot of questions about potential behavioral health response models, and I appreciate that. And yes, we definitely, there's a reason we put it in the report because we do think it's a really good solution. But I just want to remind everybody and go back to what I had mentioned at the very start of the presentation is please don't let that overshadow the need for the need for increasing your sworn personnel to provide the level of service that is needed, that your community needs, and will continue to need even more as your population continues to grow. So just keep as you kind of, focus the lens on where to go and what to do with this, that's just the one thing I just want to make sure we're reinforcing is the importance of making that the top priority, is getting those additional men and women to help serve your community.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Chief?
I just want to thank Martin and Mark. I've shared some of these details, but to have somebody go through all the nuances, the numbers, the formulas, Mark did a great job of that and coming with some new ideas and some feedback. As far as my department, I would not want to lead any other team. I know like the SRO stuff is front and center, right, with me being the SRO, but it's no different under the roof as well. I have people doing everything they possibly can to keep this ship running well and to the expectations our community has. So I just can't emphasize enough, I have the best team ever. Great department head partners, and Martin's been fantastic getting us through this too, because there's been a lot going on as this was happening.
I'm sure.
So I just want to thank everyone for their involvement.
Thank you.
And the stakeholders, all the stakeholders.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. I'm grateful again. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to complete this work for you, and we really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Got something else?
We can let Mark go.
All right.
But
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
All right, Sandy, if you don't have anything else for me, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect.
All right. Have a
Phil.
good night.
While they're hanging up, I just wanted to address, so you had asked if the public could weigh in on this. So I just wanted to address that because I didn't want you to think that we were ignoring you. The public comment section is at the beginning of the meeting, and so that's when we sort of hear from the public. You are welcome to come or send your feedback some other way, but like, that's sort of why we're having the conversation here.
And that makes total sense. Just commenting on the presentation, can I do that?
No,
Is that gonna
I'm
be
sorry.
discussed in the next
No,
meeting?
next meeting. You could come to the next meeting and,
And present that?
yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Or
thank you.
email.
We also stick around after the meeting if you want to have informal conversations.
Or email.
Or emails.
I like emailing.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry? Oh, sorry, thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to accept the study. Higgins and McDaniel. Just comments? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Item 6, consent agenda, staff recommendation, motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Tonight, there is just one. Kinnifer and Kirstover. Questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, reports of committees, items for discussion and/or possible action. A, Park Board. 1, Park Facilities Naming Policy, included in your packet. Park Board and staff recommendation, motion to approve as presented. Motion by Matt, second by Rick. Any comment on this, Matt, from Park, or?
I'll say, I mean, it was a pretty extensive process since the fall, right? We and the park board had a lot of discussion about it, and I think it got to a good place because it leaves the options open, right? So it's not too restrictive, but there's some guardrails to it.
Okay.
With name changes and that, and yeah, I think everybody's on board and put a lot of time and work into it for sure. So thank you to the staff.
Okay. Anybody else?
Tim, what was the process before?
It's pretty much this, just not in writing.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
For
what I
noise,
mean.
we
It's
did have
guardrails. It's like,
we had
okay,
a
we're done.
formal, yeah, we had a formal request to have a field named last fall, and then kind of brought up this discussion about what if we get other requests, what is the process? So started really complicated, worked with Larry to kind of narrow it back down and yeah, keep it pretty open-ended, just really just to let the public know if there is a request, this is the process, who to contact, and the steps to go through to have that request reviewed.
The
Thank
park
you.
board did deny Tim Higgins Field, just so you know.
As well you should.
Okay, we have a motion by Lee, second by Marks. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 8, unfinished business, items for discussion and/or possible action. A, 2026, 2027 annual alcohol beverage license renewal applications. All applicants are listed in the published public notice. See the village board packet. Staff recommendation, motion to approve as presented, subject to completion of all administrative requirements prior to issuance, including payment of required fees, successful fire department inspection, and final verification by the village clerk. I don't see a motion at this point, so maybe we need some more information.
Sure. So this is the annual alcohol licensing period. The clerk's office has been kind of working on this since, believe it or not, March. It's a very lengthy process where all the establishments file for what we call a renewal application, and then we do a very comprehensive review. We check the renewal applications with your application that they turned in last year for any changes or items of that nature. And we also send all of the applicants on the renewal applications to the police department for a background check. And we also have all the establishments checked by the fire department. And we also check any outstanding balances that establishments have with like municipal services bill, property taxes, those kinds of things. And as you can see, Joy has done a lot of this work, so I give her kudos for getting everything in order for us, because you're seeing a couple pieces of paper when it was really hundreds of pieces of paper. But you're seeing the notable changes we've outlined in the memo here for each of the establishments. In one of them, we did note that there was some background pending charges against one of the applicants that's on the actual establishment license. So some of you are probably asking why you're seeing this, because we do have an operator's license policy that goes to public safety, and I can approve those operator's licenses. But you, as a board, do need to approve the actual establishment licenses. So that's what you're seeing here, is the establishment licenses. So with that, I'm going to stop, and if you have any questions, that's where we'll go.
Real quick, what's the difference between establishment and operating license?
So an establishment license is what actually holds the license, right? And the agent of an establishment license actually is privileged in operator's license. Like, you take some of these establishments like Hy-Vee or Quick Trip, some of the people on the actual establishment license probably don't even work at the establishment. But to serve or sell alcohol, you have to have an operator's license. So a lot of times when, like I said, the agent is privileged in operator's license, but maybe the people listed on this license don't work at the establishment. Maybe they do, and they do have an operator's license. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Sometimes operators' licenses are referred to as bartenders'
Yeah.
licenses. So it's the difference between the business and the individual
Right.
serving.
Yeah.
So this is the motion
This is the
for the
establishment
businesses.
license. These are for the establishment licenses. Is that
Tom?
very
I would make a
good?
motion to approve these licenses as presented.
I'll second.
Second by Matt. Further discussion, questions?
Are we able to separate them into different decisions, or?
Yes.
You sure can.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
pull anybody out separately
They
if
can
you'd
make
like.
motion to separate.
I would like to make a motion to separate Ace's Main Tap from the other applicants.
Okay,
I would second that.
Okay, we have motion second to separate ACE's main tab application. Discussion?
So that's an amendment, right?
Uh,
It's an amendment to the motion because we have an emotion on the.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's fine.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passed. Okay,
So,
but
so now you need to approve the other license that does not have ACEs with it.
I will motion to approve the other.
Well, that's already out
Okay,
there.
okay.
all right, so we have motion and a second to approve all but ACE licenses. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Perfect.
Motion carries. Okay.
So now if you want to make a motion about ACEs, or if you want to discuss it further, we can do that.
Yeah, I'd just like to better understand what we're looking at here in these documents. It seems like
Yep.
we have charges that are not convictions,
Yep.
but it also seems like we have some inconsistency between what the background check says and what the application said. Is that a correct statement?
I would think that's a correct statement.
Timing, based
Yeah.
on timing.
Yeah, based
Well,
on timing.
The conviction of the OWI was listed under pending.
Oh,
So it should be under
Got
the
it.
other one. But what I will say is, I think the agent, and I'm not certain who the other person is, but you want to come up to the mic. You guys want to hear from them?
Yes, I
Right?
would definitely like to hear from them.
These are people listed on the establishment license. So if you can just state your name and.
Okay, before you start, 1 second, please. If we could look at page 101 on the clerk's memo, 3/4.
It's Pagankoff's memo.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
from the chief's memo.
Yep.
It reads here, 6/25, Catherine Ace was convicted of OWI first through the Oregon Municipal Court.
Right.
All right, so are we saying that we're not considering this conviction, or?
This is the OWI charge from 625 was a conviction. The
Okay.
other items listed are pending charges.
Okay, so but that one, there is indeed a conviction.
There is a conviction.
Okay.
That was with the last licensing year.
All right, I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
Okay, if you could give me your name and address for the record, both, please, and pull the microphone close, please.
Sure. My name is Ashley Ace, and I'm one of the owners of Ace's Main Tap.
Okay,
I'm Bridget Ace. I'm also one of the owners and the agent.
okay.
Well, I don't know, should I speak on behalf, or do you have any questions
Yeah,
in particular?
start
or-
with questions, board, or we want them
or
to
should
make a
I-
statement?
Go ahead, do you have a statement prepared?
So I'm not sure if any of you are aware, we got Ace's Main Tap because our father passed away. So this was not necessarily a choice to go into business with our siblings, but there are 4 of us. And so here we are, 2 of them. And then we have another sister and another brother who have 25% of our ownership as well. To add, our father did not have a living will, so we took it upon ourselves to make that agreement, that 25%. And so when we applied, we have to put all 4 of us on it. Our sister Katie currently is struggling a little bit with some of her own addiction issues. And so that's where some of these charges are coming from. We are actively trying to help her, but she is not a part of the business anymore. She has not been in there for close to 6 months.
She's no longer receiving payroll.
Once we realized how her addiction was affecting her and everything, we chose to not make her a member of that. Unfortunately, we have talked to lawyers and other people, but we are not able to take her off of anything legally yet because she is 25% member. So we have taken her out of the business piece of it because of everything she's going on and trying to get help for her in that way. Another thing I want to note is that her issues have not affected the business. They've not, right, like none of her charges have been at the business. She's not causing problems at the business. As far as we've heard from anybody, the business is doing okay in the way of conducting, an appropriate business here in Oregon. So that's just kind of where we are at. We are both here kind of as representatives of Ace's Main Tap and hoping to get the liquor license to go through, knowing that one of our siblings and owners is having some issues lately. But again, we have taken her out of all pieces that are the bar, and we have a new manager who is running it for us and everything. So we've kind of taken upon ourselves to do what we can,
Sure.
knowing that we can't legally get her off of it at this point.
Okay, board, Matt.
Just motion to approve. Where's that?
Yeah,
Has a motion to, okay.
there was a motion.
Make a second.
There is a second.
This is the operations, it's not an individual operator
Right.
Correct.
Okay, further questions, comments, just questions for the applicants?
Actually, a
wait,
question for Candy?
Rick had his hand first, then you're next, Tim.
Just a question, I don't know who would have the answer. Is Catherine Ace an operator, have an operator's license or what we call a bartender's license?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
As far as I know, no.
Nope.
Okay. Tim?
So then am I understanding that there are 4 applicants on the license and there's one was referenced in the memo?
Yep, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
Each 25%.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm much more comfortable with this now.
Okay.
Phil, oh, yes.
Sorry, go ahead, please.
So as you're considering this, it isn't easy to remove someone from an LLC, but it is possible. You can do, it takes court action, but it is something that, that is possible. We're going to be back in this situation again next year because we're likely to be. There's pending charges for second offense, at least related to alcohol, following alcohol laws with the same individual. And so it wouldn't be inappropriate if you have thoughts about what's going to happen down the road for you to, even if not as part of the motion, but to communicate that so that, so that there isn't a surprise at some point in June of 2027. So it's worth some discussion.
Are you suggesting that we get her taken off of it?
So the policy, the village's policy and the policies of many of the communities in the area are that this kind of an offense be disqualifying for even just an operator's license, much less a premises license. So, we talk a lot about precedent and, I always say it, you don't have to follow your previous precedent, but I can say that the memo and the conversation is going to be far, far easier next year if that isn't the case. And, we don't know who will still be on the board and, but it's definitely a problematic situation.
Absolutely, we understand. We've had previous conversations, some preliminary conversations with our lawyer already, just to ask about our options. So we absolutely understand the significance of it and have our, work, like you said, it'll take time and but we know that is probably what the route will go as well.
And that's exactly what I meant, right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just for my clarification, it doesn't sound like you operate it, but in fact, someone else operates it, is that correct?
We have a manager who runs our day-to-day
Oh, okay.
operations.
We're
and
there-
we're the
I'm
owners.
there every day.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
we
great,
own
I understand that.
Yes.
And to our attorney's point going forward, can you assure this board that Catherine will not be working there?
Yes, absolutely. She will not be working there.
Okay,
And there's actually
Yeah.
they have some help from the conditions that she's under right now that she can't possess alcohol,
Or
consume or possess.
Or serve
As we
certain-
understand it, so that, it's hard to control your siblings sometimes, but
Right, right.
that one is, you'll have help with that if it's not
Yes.
followed.
Correct.
yes, right,
I would like to say something else.
please.
I would also like to, and Larry can correct me if I'm wrong as well, but we do also have other options in the law if something would happen. There's a revocation process that we could undergo if something happened. Not saying that it will, but there's that tool as well in the law.
And the process is very, very similar to the opposite of what you have on the floor for a motion today.
Okay.
If you were to non-renew or revoke, non-renew is just once a year. Revoke is something that can happen at any time so, yeah.
Okay,
I understand. Yep, absolutely.
Rick and then Lynn.
I just had one other question for clarification from Larry. Is the order that I saw in there, when the term possession is used, can you maybe tell me what that means? Is that holding it in your hand or owning it, or how does that work?
I'm not even going to look at Chief when I say this. Absolutely, it's holding it in your hand. Yeah. Being under control, having it in your vehicle, and those sorts of things are all possession.
I guess further
Yes,
than that,
that's
is it
possession.
also true that would you be able to possess it in your home or in your business?
No.
Okay. Thank
Matt.
you.
I just wanted to thank you both for coming and giving us that context. You know, what is on paper is always a little different than what's in real life. And obviously, this is a hard thing for your family to be going through. And I appreciate you coming to give us that context. I think reading between the lines of sort of what we're saying is, you know, if in a year things haven't really changed and we feel like that we're still risking it a little bit by doing this, I think I at least, I'll only speak for myself, I might make a different decision next year, but I just want to applaud you for coming to talk to us about it. I think that's really helpful, and I wish you good luck in all the things you have to navigate.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Else? Tim?
Yeah, I just want to say, as someone who comes from a family where addiction was an issue, I respect the difficulty of family issues surrounding addiction, and I wish you a lot of luck in dealing with this, and I would encourage you to be fearless and relentless in doing what you can to protect your business, because I think you have a very valuable, important business in our village, and I hope to be able to still have lunch there, because you got the best
We
burgers in
agree.
town.
We would like that as well.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
so best of
very
luck to
much.
you.
Best burger in town.
Absolutely.
Off the record.
Don't write that down.
Okay, further questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion by Lees, a second by Christopher to approve. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thanks for your help, Larry. Let's see, 8B, ordinance number 26-05, an ordinance to repeal section 1.15 of the Village Code of Ordinances, dissolving the ad hoc Public Transportation Committee and authorizing terminator of related Wisconsin Department of Transportation statewide planning grant agreement. Staff recommendation, motion to approve. Higgins and Knipfer. Comments, questions? Hearing none. Motion by Higgins, second by Knipper. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 8C, resolution number 26-14, establishing village board direction for preparation of the 2027 village budget, which was detailed at length in your packet. Staff recommendation, motion to approve as presented. Higgins and Knipper. Comments, questions? Rick?
I had a question about the, what you had said was what was it called? A classification change for all the employees, basically a raise. Is that really actually a cost of living adjustment, or is that separate from that? Did we have a job study that supported that idea?
So right now we have a employee compensation plan and policy in place, and so all the employees are classified into grades and then placed on a wage scale and schedule. And so what this recommendation would be, at least as a starting point for the budget, would be to move all employees up one step on the scale. And that equates to, depending on where you are on the scale, if you are below the midpoint, it's a 2.5% increase. And if you are above it, it is a 1.25% increase.
And is that designed to sort of offset the cost of living that goes up, or is it really actually a raise? It's not really a raise, and it's really a cost of living adjustment?
It's, for all intents and purposes,
Okay.
Cost of living.
Tim?
So in the discussion, there was the possibility of up to 4 additional positions: police officer, HR manager, a senior center position, and a library position. It's probably unlikely we're going to be able to afford all 4. Is that a fair statement? So is that just coming back to this board at some point to decide which 2 we're choosing or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, at this stage of the year, we don't know all of the major inputs for revenues for the next year's budget. And from the expenditure side, we're really sort of making some good projections on some costs as well. So I think if things turn good in all directions, we can probably fit 4 and do all the other things that we list here. It might be that 1 or 2 of these positions have to start mid-year, and then we fill the back end of that on the following year. But we'll see. We'll see where sort of our primary revenues come in, especially the property taxes and the limits there. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic that if nothing else, through maybe some offsetting with the next year, that we can attempt to fit all of these things.
Cool. That'd be great.
But should we not be able to, yes, then it will be a policy choice of what's in and what's out.
Other questions, comments? Okay, we have a motion by Higgins, second by Knipper. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 8D, review draft 2026-2028 Village Board Strategic Plan. Mark?
So this is the other piece of the discussion from last week when we talked about next year's budget direction and then the 2-year plan in tandem with that. Obviously, you just approved the budget direction piece. This is the strategic plan, 2-year plan piece. There isn't a whole lot of changes from what was at the last meeting. Now it's just putting it in a nice, pretty document and making it look professional. I had a couple notes on just a few changes in there. Not looking for action on this tonight, just trying to get a gut check from the board that I captured what was in the meeting last time and all the feedback from everybody last time. And if there's any further questions or direction, take it. Otherwise, if things are in a good form, then we can turn it into its final actionable form and bring it back at the next meeting for action.
Comments, questions? Tim?
I wanted to know more about the intergovernmental agreement between the village and the town of Oregon. Is there someplace this has happened locally that I could go read about to learn more about how that might look?
Yeah.
I'm not going to cover it tonight, just something I could study on my own.
Yeah, absolutely, and I can send you some examples too outside of this. Yeah, they're common generally in municipal government between towns and cities and villages. I know CARPC is working on one right now. I think they're getting close to finishing with the city of Sun Prairie and the town of Sun Prairie. There's a statutory framework for these. They can take a couple different forms. They can look like more of like a boundary agreement where you kind of set and decide what your municipal boundaries are going to look like, or they can be expanded to any number of areas of municipal governance, from infrastructure and service delivery and all sorts of things. Yeah, so they're very, very common. Again, there's a structure that's in place. For this particular instance, as I mentioned in my memo, Elise and I talked about, different projects and things that, would be helpful or that she'd want to focus on over these 2 years. And what we found over the last couple of years is there's a few areas where we're running into, growth and development where there is just some boundary issues, there's some infrastructure issues that we're running into, where we don't necessarily have the answer to give people, whether it's property owners or developers, about, well, how are we going to fix this issue? That's something the town and village need to sort of figure out. And so, after we talked, we thought this would be a good place to maybe resolve a handful of those issues so that we have certainty in those areas, and property owners and maybe potential developers at some point, can progress on where they want to take their properties with.
That's great. I look forward to reading more about it.
Okay. Lynn?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, Tim, because I also had a couple of questions. Martin, I think that getting more context or detail on what this might look like is really helpful, especially on the village side. But I also think that for residents, this is also something that I would like to know what that looks like in terms of changes. I think that it's always been kind of confusing and how these things, what comes first and what comes second, and how those things operate, especially when we're talking about different entities. So I think any changes that we might enter into intergovernmentally, I'd also like to make sure that we're fully transparent about what that looks like for residents as well.
Anybody else? I just would add that these are, as Martin said, quite common. When I was on CARP-C, I worked with two different groups to create agreements, one of which was actually the town of Verona and city of Verona, which I think, although vastly modified, is still in place to this day. So just thought I'd add. Any other comments? Okay, no action on this item. Let's see, item E, selection of, help me out here. Keeney. Selection of Keeney Architects LLC to complete public works space need analysis at a cost not to exceed $16,480. Staff recommendation motion to approve as presented and authorize the village attorney to finalize the professional services agreement. Higgins and McDaniel. Rich, have something to add?
It was a good process. The proposals that we received from all 6 firms were very professionally done. The board that decided who we would go with, we're all kind of in agreement that any of the 6 would have done a bang-up job for us. I just think that Keeney aligned with our specific needs and the public works facilities needs at this time. And that's ultimately who ended up winning the bid.
Okay, questions? Lynn?
I haven't gotten to say this in a really long time, so I was so excited to say this. Under budget. So under budget.
Way under, yeah.
Thank you.
I will say I inherited kind of a large budget for this one. That was kind of a conservative guesstimate by whomever came up with that. So that was all right.
Rich is trying not to say that I totally whiffed that one. So I went high.
I just ride the wave, Rich. Just ride it. You're under budget. It's
That's a
awesome.
good guess, and I approve of that guess.
Never in the history of space needs analysis have they come back and said, oh, you're fine. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to spend that money.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? We have motion by Higgins, second by McDaniel. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 9, new business items are for discussion and or possible action. A water service connection leaks related to corporation stops located on South Main Street between State Street and South Perry, associated with the 2024 South Main Street reconstruction project.
I kind of went into detail in that memo. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know I've spoken with probably a majority of the folks on this board individually about this. So, like I said, I'm happy to answer questions as much as I can. This is kind of an evolving situation, and obviously we are having these discussions. So, want to be cautious, but get you guys the information you need.
Okay, questions?
At this point, there's no definitive that there's something wrong with those curb stops. We don't know why they're failing.
Oh, there's definitely something wrong with them.
Well, yeah.
There are holes
Leaking it,
in, yes, so they have all failed in the same way. There are these little pinholes, and some of them are larger than pinholes in kind of a valve area. And Don Gray would be kicking me at this point because I don't know the technical term for it, but clearly the metal has kind of eroded in this same little area, and that has caused them to fail and leak. What we don't at this point know is why, what caused all of them to fail in that exact same way, whether there is a commonality, and then what the next step is.
Okay.
How many are we talking about total curb stops that would potentially be replaced?
So we installed 25 corporation stops in this project. 6 of them have now failed. We do install this model of Corporation Stop, or have as a matter of course in pretty much every recent development. So while we have done some investigations, and preliminarily we can say we haven't seen the same thing elsewhere. I don't want to say that it could never happen, because we do have the same make and model and the same vintage of that make and model throughout the village.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so as you note in the memo, we'll be having more conversations with the contractor and also the manufacturer. And at least initially, they've been very, very interested to learn more about what happened, and have been very positive about their willingness to take care of whatever problem is identified. And as Lauren wrote in the memo, we've supplied them with a few examples. We've got some videos that we've sent of them installed and leaking, and the staff did a great job of really documenting everything. And so there's a lot of things on the table. We don't know where it'll lead. You know, will we tear up the road and replace the other 19 of these, or however many there are on this particular project? What will happen with resurfacing the road? It's a very new piece of infrastructure. So we'll be having conversations with them next week, and we'll see where it goes, and we'll keep updating you.
Tim?
But the expectation is that Mueller has some of these failed devices and is going to try and determine what caused them to fail, yes?
Correct. They took possession of those last week or the week before. We retained 3 of them. They took 3 of the others after we photographed them and did all of our forensic work. So.
That was well handled.
Anybody else? Okay, that was just for information only. Thank you. Item 10, reports of village officers, department heads, consultants. This is for information only. In your packet, a village administrator report and the finance director report with building permits, impact fees, and utility connection fees collected for the month ending April 2026. Questions there? Okay, going on to 11, announcements and miscellaneous business. Let's start with a proclamation recognizing Senior Center Director Rachel Brickner for 16 years of dedicated service to the Village of Oregon and Oregon Senior Center. And when the occasion merits so, we will indeed read this. I'll pass this down. When we get to Lynn, I will read the rest. Any more further instructions? Okay. Proclamation recognizing Rachel Brickner for 16 years of dedicated service to the Village of Oregon and the Oregon Area Senior Center. Whereas in May 2010, Rachel Brickner joined the Village of Oregon, initially serving in the Adult Day program and providing case management support for the Oregon Senior Center, bringing her unique professional background, education skills, and compassion. And
whereas, after serving in multiple areas of senior center operations and later transitioning to fully into case management, Rachel's exceptional leadership, expertise, and commitment to the community led to her promotion as a senior center director in June 2017.
And I'm going to resist the urge to do this in a funny voice. Whereas over the course of her distinguished career, Rachel has guided the Senior Center with strategic mind, a collaborative spirit, a deep understanding of its programs and services, and a dedication to excellence. And
whereas Rachel's vibrant personality, warmth, and genuine kindness have made the Senior Center a welcoming and trusted place where older adults find connection, staff feel supported and empowered, and residents see the village's commitment to caring, inclusive public service. And
whereas Rachel has built strong relationships with village staff, community groups, partner agencies, service organizations, volunteers, and residents to strengthen communication, coordinate services, solve problems, and ensure that older adults and their families are supported by a caring and connected community. And
whereas Rachel has been indispensable in the planning and development of the new senior center building, project currently under construction, a monumental and once-in-a-generation undertaking that will strengthen, serve, and enrich the Oregon community and its older adults and residents for decades to come. And
Whereas the full measure of Rachel's impact can never truly be known, as her work has touched countless lives in ways both visible and unseen, supporting older adults and their families through times of need and times of joy, helping them preserve independence, maintain connection, and continue living safely, meaningfully, and with dignity in the community they call home. And
whereas after the 16 years of exemplary public service, Rachel is officially retiring from her position on June 5th, 2026, leaving behind a stronger, more connected, and deeply grateful community. Now therefore, we, the Village Board of the Village of Oregon, Wisconsin, do hereby recognize and express our sincere appreciation and profound gratitude for Rachel Brickner's outstanding public service to the Village of Oregon, the Oregon Senior Center, and the Oregon community, and extend our warmest congratulations to Rachel on her well-deserved retirement, wishing her abundant health, happiness, fulfillment in all her future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It has been and indeed a pleasure, and I won't even say it in a funny voice. But I am sort of known for my funny voices at the center. I have enjoyed working with each and every one of you, and it's been truly a privilege and an honor to serve the community for the last 16 years. I wouldn't trade the experience for anything. It was definitely the highlight of my career. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
I might note that some of you will probably miss seeing Rachel on a regular basis, but she's my neighbor, so I still get to see her all the time.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's okay. And then if we do have staff announcements, I do have a staff announcement.
We'll start with that.
All right. It didn't make it into the packet, but I want everybody to know that the vote for the new senior center building name should be going live on Wednesday this week. There'll be a few different options that people can use to vote. One option will be paper copies of ballots that will be available at the senior center, the library, and Village Hall. The other option will be a link on the village's website, and that link will also go out on various village Facebook affiliated pages. And then there will be a QR code on flyers around the community that people can just snap that picture and get taken right to that same website so that they can vote on one or the other. Now's the time, folks. You've got until June 24th.
Vote early and often.
Yeah, often.
Don't encourage that.
Yeah, right, yeah. Other staff announcements that department heads seen on Village Board. Tom.
Just a note on the calendar, the Thursday Senior Center Fundraising Committee is actually at 12 p.m. There was an oversight and someone who got the time wrong and forgot to tell somebody else, so. I take full responsibility for having messed that
I thought it
up.
was
like
just-
taking
I
full
thought
responsibility.
it was just gonna be someone.
We
but
can
I-
get it updated too, so no
I
worries.
would also note the Oregon Art Fair is a tremendous event and really encourage everyone to attend that. They have a full slate of 37 artists coming this year. Many of them are first time at the art fair. I've seen samples of the work and pictures and photos, and it's going to be a very interesting, eclectic mix of artwork.
Nice.
And that's
June
actually
20th.
Not the week where it's listed,
It's
it's the following week.
Oh.
Right.
We
It's
only
just
have so
confusing.
much space, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
You couldn't go
Got it.
over.
Yeah.
And then Oregon Community Band concerts start tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Triangle Park, 7 o'clock.
Oh, Lynn?
I was just gonna piggyback off of Tom's comment with the Oregon Art Fair. The Village Board is gonna be there from 9 to noon. The Village Outreach Table will be there, so if you wanna come and say hi to us and let us know about anything going on that you're interested in discussing, we will be there. Board members, you'll get a sign up soon.
Okay. And Paige, I think you have.
Cultivating Belonging Committee still has openings. You can apply online, and our meeting is coming up June 18th at 6:30.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, next we'll go to future agenda items. I have one. The Oregon School District has requested to appear before the board on June 16th agenda to present a proposal that the village consider additional and ongoing annual funding for the school district's splash pad project. Without objection, we'll add that to the agenda. Okay.
Did you say the 16th?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
should be the 15th.
15th.
I thought that's what I heard, but then I thought I missed it.
Actually, I think it says 15th, but I can't read my own writing. Okay, anything else? As our business is concluded, without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much, folks. Kind of a long meeting.